Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching the CB vlog. If you guys are liking these videos, can you please hit subscribe? That would be really nice. If you're loving these videos, you want to help make them, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, let's check out this week's topic. Sean, what are we talking about this week?
This week's discussion topic is very near and dear to me. I want to talk about how to deal with getting salty in a game.
Ooh.
It's something that I have the salt flows within me. I can get salty sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good thing. I think getting out of control of your emotions is not a positive quality, and I'm going to try to talk about how that happens, try to figure out ways around that. And this is not something we can just solve. We're not able to say like, hey, here's how to do it all, right? Like, your emotions are yours and they're valid, but like, we can control them. So I'm just going to talk from a personal level. It's going to be a very personal one about like how I deal with things and things I think about when I'm able to.
Before we get in, let's just maybe quickly tell people what being salty means.
Sure.
Right? Salt. I think salt is just when you're feeling upset. You're playing a little emotionally. You're upset that something happened, and then you're just kind of mad, right? Like it's just a fun way of saying that you're mad, I think.
Yeah, which you know what? Now that you identify that, maybe we shouldn't call it salty, because that's a good way to dismiss it. Where you're like, it's not so bad, I'm salty. But maybe it is kind of bad. Like maybe we shouldn't give it a cute name so that we can actually deal with it.
I always thought it was like making fun of the person for being mad. It's like, oh, you salty? Oh, yeah. Oh, you're feeling a little salty over there, huh?
Right. Just
like,
to make them more mad.
Yeah, just to rub it in a bit. Like, so you're not playing optimally when you're mad like that, right? So it's in your opponent's best interest to keep you salty.
Well, okay, let's start there then. Let's say like, let's assume we're playing with people we are at least friends with.
Okay.
Even if you're playing like at a store and you don't necessarily know the people, these people are in your community. They're the people who play Commander like with you and other people. So let's just assume we don't want to make them feel as bad as possible, right? Mm-hmm. That should be our fundamental goal on any rate. I know everyone has their own type of fun, and I know that there are people out there who truly do enjoy making others feel bad. I don't like those kind of people.
No, that
and I don't
sucks. Don't do that.
No, that sucks. Don't be one of those people, right? The community is stronger without that going on.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Don't make other people salty. If you feel someone is getting salty, don't rub it in.
Yeah. Step one. Yeah. Number one thing. Don't make it worse. But it's on the person who's salty, right? Like let's talk about this. Let's like
yes,
right. Like what are some of the reasons people get this way, that they get upset, they get angry, they get salty?
Yeah. So I think in a major way, we can divide it into two basic halves. I mean, they're not even halves, but there's two categories. There's stuff that's happening in the game that's making us salty, and then there's stuff that's not game related that might be making us salty. And I think it's important to so if we rewind even further, the first step is figuring out what is making you salty. Well, I guess the first step is identifying that you are actually salty. Sometimes you get salty and you don't know it.
That's true.
Like the first step, let's assume you've noticed it. The first step is then, what is making me salty? So let's talk about some in-game things that sometimes have made me salty in the past, right?
Yep.
I know I've gotten upset when people have like removed my stuff or attacked my stuff or attacked me when I didn't think I was the threat, when I didn't think I was like why are you coming at me? That kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think if I sit back and think about that, well, that just means maybe my deck is the threat, right? Like, that's a good thing. If I've built a deck that is the threat, great, my deck's working great. That should be a positive, right? And if I don't think my deck's the threat, but someone else does, well, their threat assessment is different from mine, and that is acceptable. Like, maybe they know something about their deck that I might not. Like, maybe on the table, I don't feel like I'm the threat, but if you're coming at my enchantments, maybe you know something about those enchantments that's going to affect your deck down the line, and you need to deal with them now.
Exactly.
That's possible.
That's the thing. That's the key thing. I've made what seem to be suboptimal moves just because I know something that's going on the table is going to really hurt my game plan. Like I'm not going to take out just general threats if they're not specifically going to, are threatening me. But when something comes out, if you've got a rest in peace and I'm a graveyard deck, like I'm gonna do everything I can to get rid of that. Like even if there's someone with like a Blightsteel out there that's threatening to kill me, because I can't do anything anyways until that thing is gone, right? Like so it's like in order for me to deal with the actual threat, I need to kill this one thing that's threatening to or is actually shutting me down. So people's reasoning for removal or even attacking sometimes can be not what it looks like on the surface. We tend to take those things personally. I think it all boils down to that when it comes to having things removed. Like you kind of take it personally. The thing you're looking at is like, oh, that's not the threat. This other thing is. So you take it a little personal that this person is so wrong about their threat assessment.
Yeah, but that's the key. They're not wrong from their point of view.
Right. And even if they like technically are wrong, like if we're playing heads up and, every card was known on the table and we knew exactly, okay, we all kind of agreed this is the biggest threat. And then someone did something else and hit you instead. It's fine. Right. Like this is the thing that I also was like that. I used to get mad when people would do that. It doesn't really happen to me anymore as much. Once in a blue moon, it might happen. But and it's just because things are going to get removed, man. People are going to attack. That's the whole point of the game. So if sometimes people slip up and they make the wrong choice, it's okay. Just get them next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like get them, I'm not even saying plan a elaborate evil revenge and get them next time. I'm just saying don't worry, they'll probably learn a lesson from this, especially if they're a newer player. I've seen it a lot where a newer player will counter a spell that didn't need to be countered or remove something that is obviously not the main threat. Even if it happens to me, I might point out hey, I might honestly point out there's a doubling season out there, this thing isn't going to kill us, but that might actually lead to it. And if they say, no, I still want to do it, then you know what? That's it. That's cool. I'm okay, all right. No problem.
Yeah.
That's the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
But it's tough to tell someone not how to not be salty, right? It's a very difficult thing to talk about. This is the
key. This is why I wanted to talk about this in our discussion, because only the salty person can do anything about it, right? If I'm feeling if your friend, we don't want our friends to feel bad, right? Sometimes but there's nothing, you can never say to someone who's feeling angry, hey, don't be mad. It's no, it doesn't work that way. So you almost have to now I also don't think the move is to play any differently. Just just be to the point. I think the best move when your opponent is feeling salty and they're angry at what you're doing, just make the shortest, directest statements possible. It's I'm destroying that because it affects my deck's game plan, right? End of discussion from your end. And if they want to argue with you, it's well, that's what I think. We don't want to draw out the debate or make it any more complex than it needs to be, nor should you change how you're playing because someone's feeling salty. I don't think just because someone's salty, you should use that as well, then I guess I won't attack them because they'll get more salty. Just make the most logical game moves, back up your logic with simple statements, direct to the point. No one can argue that no one can tell you I feel like this threatens my game plan the most. No one can say that. No one can disagree with you when you say this affects me in a certain way.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice there. And to the people who get a little salty, I mean, even if you don't know it, take a second and think about this. Does this ever happen to you, right? Do you ever get mad when someone does something like that? And then you find players maybe backing off from you as a threat, and then you're kind of hey, this is working as a strategy. Well, that might work as a strategy. I advise against using it as a strategy because it's miserable to play against, right? So eventually you're going to find people that don't like to play with you because it's this type of thing of I'm mad, I'm taking my ball and I'm going, but you're not actually going. You're just sitting there mad, making the table uncomfortable so no one's attacking you, and then you can win out of nowhere. It's no one wants to play with that person.
No, not at all.
You're hurting your chances of playing your next Commander game.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. So what is another reason why people get salty, and how can we kind of avoid feeling that way about it?
I think oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's sometimes you're just kind of at the will of the game, right? You're kind of at you're a certain amount of this is variance, and sometimes variance makes people mad. It's difficult when you've just drawn lands the whole game. And that's, to me, I wouldn't say I get salty often, but if I do, it's at things that are beyond my control. It's things that, like, there's something going on. I'm just not drawing. I'm not playing this game. That makes me more upset than anything else. Like, just not being able to play. And it's easy, like you said, it like it says here, it's like, it's easy to say that that's variance, but like, maybe just take a look at your deck. Do you have the right stuff going on? If you do, which, like, I'm sure most of us probably do, it's just a part of Magic. There's a great saying that we always laugh about, but is truly true about this game, and it's one of the
I know what you're gonna say.
It's one of the most ridiculous things to ever say about a game, but it's 100% true about Magic. It's Marshall Sutcliffe said this on Limited Resources. It's before you sit down to play a game of Magic, do not expect to play a game of Magic. Like, you cannot expect to actually play Magic when you sit down to play. Isn't that stupid?
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? But it's true. You can't expect to play. There's variance. There's a level of variance that, because of the whole system, makes it that you might sit down and play 3 games of Magic in a row and never actually play. You might play a land or two and not really being able to do anything. And that is the game we play. We've all entered into it. We've all agreed. This game owes us nothing. There's, we can't be entitled to drawing an equal number of lands and spells and playing them and having a fun time. Absolutely not. That's not, the game does not promise you that. So it's ridiculous to think, but like, it's the way it is. And if you go in thinking that, and do what we do as our play group, we say it as a joke all the time. Whenever someone's stuck on lands, it's like, do not expect to play a game of Magic. Like, you were sitting down and expecting to play a game of Magic today? Do not expect to play a game of Magic. Like,
it's true.
It's so, but even as a joke, it reminds us, right?
And I think another huge thing to remember when that's happening is like, okay, so maybe I'm not playing Magic, but what is happening right now? I'm sitting down with my pals, joking around, having a good time. Like, let's not forget that, like, on a certain level, it's a social game. So although I'm here to play Magic, more importantly, I'm here to hang out with my pals, listen to some tunes, have the definitive top 10 Commander snacks by my side.
Number 1 water all time, baby.
Right. And like, so I can think like we were recently at GPLA or the Magic Fest LA. I didn't get salty once in a game, no matter what was going on. Cause like I'm having a great time. I'm meeting pals. I'm saying hi to people. Like the social part of it. Sometimes, if you got a regular thing, and here's where like, maybe that's your day coming in. Like if you had a crummy day, maybe you're going to get salty a little easier than normal. Just recognize then like, hey man, I'm just having a crummy day. Fine. I'm just going to flip some cards. Maybe that's the time you bring your basic attacky Gruul deck where you don't have to think too much. You just take out your day's feelings with a bunch of aggressive creatures.
And like, I understand when you build a new deck, you're stoked to play it. You got all these wicked new cards. You're so excited to get it out there, and you sit down and you start playing and you just never draw a land, right? You kept a 2-lander or a 3-lander and you're like, okay, no problem. 1 land and I'm in this game. And then you just never draw the land. That is a serious bummer. That sucks, man. That's really brutal. But like, so instead of getting salty, like things that I try to do when that happens is I will try and engage socially with the game, right? And like start like almost like start investing yourself in someone else's deck, like, because what I find myself doing in those times when I get a little salty is I don't get salty at anyone else in the game, because obviously it's not their fault. They didn't do this to my deck. But I tend to check out, and I'll like start checking my phone or like watching the TV. That's what I get. When I'm mad at my deck, that's what I do. So instead, I've been trying to focus on like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get invested in Sean's deck this game, and I'll see like the cool moves he's getting to make, and I'll be like, oh sweet, or like, and you got to try and play this so that you're not like harping on someone or telling them to do anything. Don't do that. Just like have fun with that deck. Live vicariously through that one, or even all of them. Like, try and contribute socially, maybe even a little bit politically if you can. Because I find that in games where people have slow starts like this and they just don't get to play for the first 3 or 4 turns, that those players like often have a very strong end game because they've been holding all these great spells. And once they start hitting lands, they start doing big things, and that's after people's answers have been used. So don't, and there's nothing worse than a person who was checked out the whole game and like pretend like they didn't care and like whatever, land, blah, blah, complaining the whole time. And then, oh, it's turn 7 and I'm winning. And then I just won. It's like, man, you didn't even care about this game until now, Like, try and stay invested. There's multiple ways you can do it. Stay politically invested, stay socially invested, make jokes about people's decks, have a good time. Try not that will ward away the salt. That will keep the salt away from your beverage. It won't ruin your milkshake by pouring a lot of salt in it.
And I want to add one tip if you're playing with people you don't regularly see. Like, let's say you're going to a store or a new place, and maybe you don't know everyone, so you don't consider them on a friend level yet. If you're getting a little salty about the deck, this is a great opportunity to ask people about their day, right? Get to know the person. Like, how long have you been playing Commander? How often do you play any other formats? What do you like to do outside of Magic? These are just great. You get little conversations going, and you might be forging your new regular play group that maybe you'll eventually become good pals, and you will start meeting at someone's place and having snacks and TVs and stuff going on as well. Like it, just because you don't know the people, that I think that's a great excuse to talk about. We all share a hobby of Magic. Like, you've got plenty of places to start talking on like a level, so like just try that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one thing you said there, Sean, was really good. It's taking like what has happened in your day and realizing, maybe you're taking out your frustrations of the day on your Magic game. It's really good to try and avoid doing that. Like, if you know that like you've had a kind of a brutal day and like all you want to do is go play Magic, but you're going in with the attitude of like, I'm so like frustrated and mad at today. I just want to crush someone in Magic. I just want to like really win. I want to see my deck go nuts. Well, those are the times when you got that expectation. Now, no longer do you just have the expectation of playing Magic. You've got the expectation now of winning in a big way and like wanting to do really well, which isn't wrong. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to go into a game of Magic and win, especially if you're coming from like a limited or like constructed like background where, that's what you're just supposed to do. Commander's a very different game though. You go in with that mindset and it can create problems, and it can make you salty when it doesn't happen, and you can feel ganged up on even when you're not actually getting ganged up on. And so like, it's important to like identify that. Those are not always the best mindsets to go in with. And I'm not saying don't play Commander those days. Just like take a sec before you go in and just be like, what do I want out of these games today? Am I just looking to take a look at my new deck and play my new cards? That's fun. If you're looking to try and like crush people and win because you're upset about something that happened at work, take a second, maybe work those feelings out, think about that a little bit, try and separate that from the game, because that's not going to be helpful.
Yeah, and I think I can kind of, if we're ready to wrap this thing up, I think I can sum it all up by saying we can't always control how like what gets us mad and all those things. Our feelings are going to happen to us, but I think what we can control is what we focus on. This works for Magic, this works for life. If you're feeling upset, instead of focusing and paying attention to the things that are making you upset, also notice the things that aren't. Notice the good things. Choose to see the positive whenever you can. And I think when it comes to Commander, at the very least, the positives will always be, I'm playing a game that I love with a deck that I made or I like downloaded and put together with TLC, and I'm with some pals. That at the end of the day, no matter what happens on the table, that's going to be fun. And like I'm with pals. And I think of like one of the most important things to remember is if despite all this you do end up getting a little salty and makes things a little awkward or you get a little heated in a game, it's always okay to say you're sorry. If you did something that you were like, oh man, I got a little too into that conversation, or like I got too mad, even if you didn't like necessarily do something so brutal like call someone some name or something. I'm not talking about that, but I mean including that too. Just be like, hey guys, I got a little salty there. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? Like you can say that. Or you can make fun of how mad you are. Like that's a nice way to take pressure off and kind of indicate to everybody that, oh, okay, I realize I went a little too far there. Sorry about that. It's always fun. People will always appreciate it.
People will always give you the benefit of the doubt because they don't want you to be that way. They want everything to be having a good time, like you're saying, playing with friends. If something should happen, always feel like you can apologize. It's no problem, and then get back to the game because that's what everyone wants to do, anyways.
Yep, great. So let us know in the comments, if you've have some tactics you use to get out of saltiness. Let's share them.
Yeah.
If you've got tricks that we haven't mentioned, because I tell you, we probably haven't thought of them. So please let us know. Let's share your tips for getting rid of the salt.
Yeah, this is not something we've mastered. This is something we all,
No.
everyone has to deal with, and we deal with it just like everybody else. So yeah, let's all talk about it. Cool news.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.